Okay, so welcome to our ongoing series of webinars. We do webinars here at SOS every week. We do many webinars, but on Thursdays we do this webinar, which is designed for partners and prospective partners. So the audience for today's webinar is IT solution providers, MSPs, VARs, companies that are in the business of selling IT solutions and products and services, and that are looking at potentially adding online backup as an additional product to their product SKU, or potentially as a standalone offering to their customer base. In terms of the structure of the webinar, it will sometimes go for up to an hour. Usually there's a roughly 30-35 minute presentation, and then after that there's a Q&A section, and the agenda's there on the screen. We'll go brief overview of SOS as a company. We'll then turn to look at the backup and DR industry as it has existed, look at some of the movements that are occurring in the industry as the industry transitions from traditional hardware-based backup to IP-based backup, or online backup, or cloud backup, or SaaS, whatever you want to call it. We'll then look at SOS's technology specifically, and then onto our partner model. So we'll look at how does our technology work and how can it benefit your customers and clients, and then specifically how can you benefit from being an SOS partner. And really what this part of the webinar is about is showing you how you can drive recurring profitable revenue from online backup. And that's really the goal of today's webinar, is to give you all a better perspective of whether or not you can make money in this industry and what sort of revenue might you be able to make. And there are three outcomes for the webinar, if you like. First thing is we're raffling off a Kindle, as we do each week, and at the end of the webinar there'll be instructions on how to go and to enter that raffle for the Kindle and to get the promotion code, which you'll need. Second thing is, and I hope by the end of the webinar you'll see the value of calling in and talking to one of our partner specialists about building a return on investment model for your business in online backups. So basically, I'll show you some examples of this, but one of the things that the biggest call to action that I've got for everybody here today is, if you are interested in this space and learning more, the best step you can take is to get us to build a revenue model for you. And then the third thing is a mock-up. Our team can also work with you to give you an idea of what your marketing slicks might be able to look like, and what a fully white-labeled and rebranded online backup product might look like for you and your business. So those are the key things I'm hoping you'll be able to get out of this. And okay, we've had just some interference on the line. Can you just confirm that everybody can still hear, that audio is still coming through clearly? I just got a comment here that some people are having some trouble. Okay, great. Thanks everybody for that. Terrific. Okay, so with that we'll dive in. And then just one item of housekeeping is that it's often we've already had lots of comments here by participants about the audio, which is terrific. One of the best ways we've found to keep these webinars dynamic and relevant to you, so we can answer your questions, is not to wait to the Q&A at the end to ask questions, but ask questions throughout. So as content's coming up throughout the presentation, please ask questions if you've got them that's relevant to the content. And we'll actually stop and discuss things in more detail when people are asking a lot of questions about the slides, and that's usually one of the best ways of getting information out of the webinar. Okay, so who's SOS? Most of you are probably pretty familiar with us. We've been in the online backup industry quite a long time. We founded back in 2001, and we've always focused exclusively on the online backup market, cloud, which is now known by various names, whether it's SaaS backup or cloud backup or IP backup or remote backup. But it's back then it was a small market. It's now a very large and rapidly growing market. Our focus is twofold. The first thing that we attempt to do, and we've always laid claim to, is to be the technology leader of the space. So to that end, we spend millions a year on R&D, and we continue to be at the cutting edge of online backup technology and continue to win a lot of awards, which we're very proud of. So we're very proud of our technology. The second thing we do, which is very different, is that we're almost exclusively a platform provider. So our goal is to work with partners like yourself. We're extremely channel focused. And so we provide a platform as a service to you, and then support you in going out to your customers to sell your online backup solution. In terms of our size and depth and competency and capability, we've got more than 200 employees worldwide. We're 4 major locations. And then we're a very large infrastructure company. We've got more than 3 million customers and nearly 10 million PCs being protected by our software around the world. And then this last point is another one. It's very interesting to you, I think, as partners, which is that we've grown 300% since April 2009. That's not about our success. That's about your success. That's about our partner success. We only grow on the basis of our partners succeeding in the online backup space. So we're very proud of that growth number, because what it indicates is that our partners are doing really well selling online backup, and that's really what today's webinar is about. Is if you've got any reservations or questions about getting into the market, today you've got an opportunity to talk to the CEO and tell me what you think, whether it's good, bad, or other. But it's we find these forums to be really useful in allowing people like yourselves to really crystallize their thinking about whether or not this is something they want to dive into. I think we've covered most of this slide. Just positioning us in the market, you're probably familiar with some of the brands on the screen here. We're very much a small business-focused company. So we focus on selling to the small business market directly. We've got a very small direct business, but our primary focus, as I said, is through the channel. We've got consumer solutions, and we've got partners who focus on consumers and home users, and we've got enterprise solutions, and we've got partners who focus on enterprise customers. But our real wheelhouse is the small business market and the VARs and MSPs and service providers that serve the small business market. I think, and that's borne out when you look at, say, the product and its features. They're very SMB focused. And then this slide's really, at a high level, what this webinar and what this company is about. We take all of SOS's technology and infrastructure and capability as represented on the left-hand side there. We then take your business, your product offering, your marketing, your sales approach, and we come up with a customized, fully white-labeled product for you to sell to your customers. And we've got many, many, many different ways of scaling up and slicing and dicing our technology and product offerings for our partners. We try and tailor that to match exactly the market you're in, whether you're a small computer break-fix shop, whether you're an MSP, whether you're a large ISP, whether you're a large software company with millions of users. We have many partners in all of those categories. But the end result is exactly the same, which is it's all about driving highly profitable, recurring, predictable revenue to you and your business. And on the screen, just a few examples. We'll see a lot more of this later in the presentation, but you can see here some SOS technology in the bottom left, and then a whole bunch of examples of fully white-labeled product, whether that's a marketing slick. Here's a product brochure in the middle, and then you can see some examples of rebranded software. Major Geek's very well-known download website, and SwingTech's a medium-sized MSP. But we'll see a lot more examples of the branding towards the end of the presentation. All right, so let's turn now and look at what the DR market looks like today from a technology standpoint, and then also from your perspective as technology providers serving that market. When we analyze the market, we see different approaches to backup in the three market horizontals of consumer, small business, and enterprise. When we say consumer, we're talking about micro business as well, so 1 or 2 seats. Small business, 2 seats to 500, and enterprise 500 plus. In that home user and consumer market, presumably some of the partners online serve that market, or maybe you've got a few clients that are home users and consumers, in your business. There's really been no systematic backup embedded in computing culture in the home user or consumer space. Our market research shows year on year that less than 10% of consumers actually back up in any sort of regular way. Where they are, they're usually using some sort of combination of hardware and software, often a external USB key or an external USB hard disk drive. But generally, there's no backup, and where there is a backup, there's certainly not off-site backup in use. Go through a small business, there's nearly always backup in place. Not often off-site backup. So this has been a real pain point for the backup and DR industry over the last 20 years, is that whether the backup that was deployed was tape-based or disk-based in recent years, it was very rarely off-site backup. And there were a lot of problems with the backup solutions designed around what we call or refer to as these centrally architected backup technologies, so disk and tape in particular. And it was usually a three-way approach where you'd have a hardware component, a relatively expensive software component, and then a labor component. Hardware was always the tape or disk array. That might be a $5,000 unit. Software was usually something like Backup Exec or software that could interact intelligently with tape or the disk-based backup hardware that was being used, and labor, which was often one of the uncosted components of a backup solution. The labor cost was actually usually one of the most important costs in the equation. And Brian Watts here asks, will pricing be discussed in this webinar? Brian, yes, it will later on. So this labor cost is a very important component when looking at traditional backup solutions, particularly as it relates to VARs and MSPs and IT shops, because as we've found working with our partner base is external IT consultants often bear a lot of the cost associated with running these solutions. So if you're maintaining a tape-based backup system for a client, you're often not actually being able to bill for all the time that you're spending on that solution. So a very common story we get is, yeah, client's entire operation melted down. We had to do a complete environment restoration. It went for 3 days, and we only got paid for about half a day's work. So that backup is not only a lot of problems with the technology, but just as an IT service provider, backup is often not a significant revenue source, and even if it is a revenue source, it's often not a profit center at all. It's often a cost center, is what we hear time and time again from our partners. And then if you look on the direct side of the labor cost, the actual business itself has very significant costs in running these centrally architected backup solutions. Again, I'm mainly talking about tape, but disk as well, in that if, for example, somebody is taking that tapes off site, there's a lot of labor that goes into rotating tapes, verifying recoverability of tapes, taking them off site, etc. So labor is very much an important cost component of existing and traditional backup solutions. And in the enterprise space, it's a similar structure. It's still hardware, software, and labor, albeit on a larger scale, but then there will often also be a separate and fourth cost component in an enterprise deployment associated with the original DR design and deployment. And that can often run into the tens of thousands of dollars for an enterprise disaster recovery plan to be put together. Contrast all of that with the way the technology works and looks like in this new cloud computing world that we're working in. Becomes your company's online backup, whether that's Tom Power's online backup or Todd Swank or Guy Herald, just to pick on some audience members. And we still have all those components of the hardware, the software, the service, and the support, but it all gets wrapped up into one complete software as a service solution that you can deliver to your customers over the wire. It's set and forget. It runs daily. Very little operational cost for you to run, and usually a far lower purchase cost for your customers. So everybody's happy. That's the theory anyway. Eric Drake's just asked, in the slide you display your logo larger in size over 3 other logos. Were you comparing solution to that of Carbonite, iDrive, etc., or were you revealing that Carbonite, iDrive, etc. are actually branded SOS solutions? No, they're definitely not branded SOS solutions, Eric. Those are other well-known brands in the online backup space. They all pretty much focus exclusively on selling direct. So out of that collective group, we are the largest channel-focused online backup company in the world. So we've got more than 1,000 partners and millions of users on our network through our partners, whereas those other brands you're talking about mainly focus on just selling under their own brand. They might offer an affiliate program and offer you, say, 5% commission, something like that. Whereas what we focus on doing is setting you up in your own online backup business or adding online backup into the array of services and products that you sell to your customers. And then just going back to the discussion of the fall of tape backup, if you will, there's a lot of data available on the collapse of tape sales, but this particular survey from the Santa Clara group who track this in particular shows that tape backup of sales have fallen from nearly $3 billion 2 years ago to $1.5 billion this year. And at that rate, it is very quickly going to recede into just being a legacy technology platform. And then in interesting data from CTO Edge magazine, survey of CTOs across the United States have actually shown that more than 70% of companies are planning on moving back up to the cloud and diminishing the use of tape. So you've got an enormous groundswell of movement toward online backup. And there's a great quote from one of our partners, which is that if we don't sell our customers online backup, someone else will. So why not us? And that's really the fundamental proposition today. All of your customers at some point are going to adopt online backup. They're probably going to do so in the next 36 months. If you don't sell it to them, somebody else is going to. So let's